So today I'm going to show you the best place to put a pressure relief valve on your dust extraction system and why it might not work. So in my last video I got a lot of comments, opinions, questions, and it was all good feedback except for that one guy. Yeah, he said it was the user that was the problem and not the product. Well, I decided to make another video to prove him wrong. We all know that the reason we put these pressure relief valves in is to stop our bins collapsing. Once there's no air coming into your system, that vacuum just wants to suck all the walls of everything in and collapse everything. So it's a bit like drinking water through a straw. And then taking that same straw and trying to drink a double thick milkshake. It's a lot harder and the milkshake moves a lot slower. And eventually your straw will probably collapse. That's why I use a metal straw. Metal straws are better. Let's look at the best place to put a pressure relief valve on a dust extraction system. I'm not using my pressure relief valve anymore, I don't need it. But for demonstration purposes, I'm going to put it back on. I'm going to take out the reinforcing in my bin just to show you the results. So somebody asked me how I had reinforced my bin. I used this stuff, which I didn't buy. I actually had it lying around. It's called Alu-Bond. And it's kind of like a Perspex that is sandwiched in between two very thin layers of aluminium. And it's nice and malleable. It was easy-ish to shape. It's relatively strong. And all I did was do a couple of layers of that. And then also add a piece of hardboard to it, so about 3 layers. And I hammered that down and it seemed to have reinforced my bin quite nicely. I had a comment this week and somebody asked me if I would have it on the outside, and yup, that's exactly what I would do. I would put it outside of the cyclone in the bin just to avoid any complications. I would have it on the CamVac side, on my shop vac side, where it's a lot simpler, where all your power is coming from, and if there's any blockages, it'll kick in and there won't be any complications there. I would keep it out of this equation, my cyclone and my drum, and you could probably put it on the inlet side, but with all the drop-in hose sizes, bends, and whatever's going on with your cyclone, it could get a little bit more complicated. Putting it here just seems a lot more simple between your shop vac and your cyclone. The spring in there is the key here. It controls the stopper underneath. So for instance, my sander is very restrictive because my shop vac is 100mm hose on it, and it goes down to this 50mm, but on the inside we have more like a 30mm. And on my Festool sander, this port here is a bit more like 20mm. So it's creating more pressure on the inside of my system. To quote another analogy, it's like closing 2 lanes of a 3-way highway. So I have to tension this spring so it doesn't open when I'm using my sander, but it has to open after that when I get a full blockage. So the spring is your main feature on this thing. It regulates, or it defines when to open and close that stopper, and you have to calibrate that spring. You have to find that sweet spot, and everybody's dust extraction is different. Okay, so I've got my sander set up, the blast gate is open, I've got my relief valve on there. I've tried to calibrate it as much as possible, but it's not perfect. But yeah, let's give it a whirl. Okay, so I can't find the sweet spot or the right tension for this thing to work properly. And what I did realize was that if I relax the spring enough, while I'm sanding, it'll stay open and it won't collapse my bin. When I turn it off, it closes again. And I thought, well, maybe that's how you're supposed to use it. But the issue is, I've got to sacrifice suction for the sake of my bin. I bought a stronger shop vac for the suction. I want the full force of my shop vac. I know what the problem is. This thing is not designed for stronger shop vacs. This thing with this 20mm opening might only be designed for weaker shop vacs or weaker dust collection. Let's look at what happens when I take this stopper off completely, so we got the thing 100% open. Okay, so with this valve now completely open, allowing in a lot of air, I'm going to shut this sander blast gate so there's a complete blockage, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so obviously it's going to work and my bin's not going to collapse. But watch what happens next. So this particular valve is probably designed for a much weaker shop vac. I tested it on my chip collector and it seems to be alright, but it even struggles with one motor. Now I've got two motors, and you saw what happened to my bin. This also comes in a 3-motor version, so you're going to have to somehow find something with a big enough opening that'll allow in enough air so your bin doesn't collapse. Or you're going to have to do what I do, and I've just reinforced my bin. It just seems a lot simpler than all the work you got to do with one of these. Okay, so hopefully that is helpful, and please like and subscribe. It really helps me out, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.